All right, welcome to lecture number 2. In this lecture, we're going to talk a little bit about behavior and psychology. We got to get inside our heads because we're not robots, right? We're humans, and we make decisions that aren't always in our best interest. In fact, I personally would argue that it's easier to know what to do with your money than it is to actually do it, right? It's kind of like health. Right, we know how to maintain our health. We have to eat fruits and vegetables and not eat lots of junk food and get lots of exercise. We can know those things, but actually doing it is a very different matter, right? And for some people it's easier, and for some people it's harder because we all have different temptations and weaknesses that we struggle with. And so for some people, managing their money is super easy. The psychology of it, the behavior of it, it's kind of their natural instinct to sort of be on top of it and be disciplined, and that's kind of their natural state. And if that's you, good for you. Okay, use that strength. If that's not you, though, we're going to talk about in this lecture some tips, tricks, and some methodologies to help us maintain or help us execute our grand plans. Right? We're going to spend the rest of the semester talking about what to do, but this lecture is all about how do we get ourselves to actually do it. Use a model of behavior called dual self theory. Now, dual self theory came from MRI scans. They put people into MRI machines, asked them to do various things while they scan their brain activities. Okay, and what that has done is it's let us see that there are two distinct regions of your brain that do different things. Okay, and now this theory is a simplification. The human brain is the most complicated thing we've ever discovered. So this is definitely a simplification, but it's a useful way to think about the way we act and how we feel. Okay, so I'm going to read this quote from this 2004 paper. They said, "A crucial fact is that the human brain is basically a mammalian brain with a larger cortex. This means human behavior will generally be a compromise between animal emotions and instincts and human deliberation and foresight." All right, what does that mean? Well, if you look at this picture of a brain scan I have on the slide here. If you take that very front little bit of your brain, the part that's right there behind your eyes, that's called your prefrontal cortex. Okay, that's the cortex they're talking about in this quote. The whole rest of your brain, everything in the back here, is what I'm going to call your back brain. Now, there's a lot of things back in there, and it's, again, more complicated than and it's more complicated than just two parts of your brain, but we're going to talk about your prefrontal cortex and your back brain. Okay, and there's part of you, your prefrontal cortex up here behind your eyes, is the part of you that makes you human. It's the part where you do math, invent new scientific theories, plan for the future. Okay, all those things that are so distinctly human. The back brain's the part of our brain that kept us alive when we were, trying to not get eaten by lions in the Serengeti, right? So it is very important and very powerful and does a lot of very important things for us. But we have to keep in mind what it wants and how to manage it. Okay, I like this analogy. The image I came up with was that I was a rider on the back of an elephant. I'm holding the reins in my hands, and by pulling one way or the other, I can tell the elephant to turn, to stop, or to go. I can direct things, but only when the elephant doesn't have desires of his own. When the elephant really wants to do something, I'm no match for him. Now, this is a really good analogy on a couple of levels. Okay, so the rider on the elephant's back, that's your prefrontal cortex. Right? That's where you make plans and do math and do all this abstract human stuff. The elephant represents your back brain, where it takes care of all the things that are essential to survival in nature. Okay. And the reason I like this analogy is because the relative strength of the guy on the elephant's back versus the elephant itself is about the same. Your back brain is hundreds of times more powerful than your prefrontal cortex. Okay. It can think faster. It has a much stronger pull on your behavior. Okay. That elephant, your back brain, the elephant, is extremely powerful. And this is both good and bad. For example, I don't know if you've ever watched a chess tournament where a chess grandmaster plays 15 games of chess at once. They go to one table and make a move to the next table and make a move. Right? They're playing 15, 20, a whole bunch of different games of chess at a time, and they win all of them. And you're like, how's that even possible? How can you even look at the board and know what's going on and make a plan and think ahead and win like that? Seems impossible. Well, the reason they can do it is because they've played so much chess that they trained their elephant to be able to look at the board, process it, and act. And that's how powerful the elephant is. Let me give you another example. Let's say you're walking down the street and you take one step off the curb and look up. And you see a truck coming towards you. Now, if all you had was your prefrontal cortex, if it was just up to the rider, here's what would happen. You would say, there's a truck coming towards me. You would pull out, a compass and a ruler, and you'd say, okay, the sun's at a 30-degree angle, the shadow's 15 feet long, so you'd sit down, you pull out your calculator, and you'd do all the math, and you'd say, you know what, that truck's going to hit me. That's how your rider processes information. Is that good? What's going to happen to you? You're going to get run over before you can do those calculations, right? You're dead. Instead, that's not what happens, is it? Instead, you step off the curb, you look up, you see the truck, and instantly, you know you're in danger. Instantly. And you jump off the curb. That's your elephant processing all that information. It doesn't do math. It doesn't have to do math. It can look at it and instantly do everything your rider just did, but it can tell you that you're going to be in trouble. That's power. That's powerful. And if you get into a wrestling match, the rider versus the elephant, if the elephant, say, wants to sleep in instead of going to the gym, and the rider wants to get up early and go to the gym, you get in a direct wrestling match with that, you're going to lose consistently because that back brain is so much more powerful. Okay? Now, this is a phenomenon society is familiar with. This idea that there's two sets of preferences. There's part of you that wants to save for the future, part of you that wants to eat healthy and exercise, part of you that wants to plan for the future and be careful. And then there's a part of you that just wants to eat Cheetos, sleep in, never do your homework, right? And these two sets of preferences fight, and that's your rider and your elephant fighting each other in your head. Society is familiar with this, so much so that they created a meme out of it. So this is called the Dark Kermit or the Evil Kermit meme. And so you can read the text there. I'm not even hungry, plus I need to save money. I'm broke. Me to me, you're starving. So this meme is all about how we are our own worst enemies, that there's a dark, sinister part of ourselves on the inside that's trying to compromise our ability to be successful and get the things that we want, right? So I just have a few examples here of that. But there's something you need to keep in mind. Now, these are funny and we can all relate to these memes. We've all been there, right? We can relate to them, but you need to keep something in mind. Your elephant is not evil. It is not your enemy. It's you. And it's most of your brain power is in that elephant part, the part that wants to sleep in and eat Cheetos, right? So what we need to do is, instead of killing the elephant, killing off all those base emotions and feelings, desires, instead of killing it, we need to harness that power and not fight it directly. Because if we fight it directly, we're going to lose consistently. Maybe not every time, but over time, you're going to lose. It's too powerful. So we're going to have 3 tips for how do we get your elephant to help you, or how to avoid fighting it. Okay, so our first tip is going to be to avoid brain fatigue. Our second is going to be to use commitment devices, which just means to execute future plans today. And our third tip is to try to get the elephant excited about what you're trying to do. Excited about the things that the rider's excited about. Okay, so let's talk about brain fatigue. Your elephant is not that different from your dog. Okay, your back brain developed in the same environment that your dog's brain developed in. They want a lot of the same things. But here's the thing. Have you ever noticed with your dog, if it can't see it, it doesn't seem to care too much about it, right? They know where the treats are stored. But if you don't have a treat out, they're okay with not getting one, right? It's not until they think you're going to get them. You're walking towards the cabinet where the treats are. And they're like, it's treat time. And then they get super excited and they won't leave you alone until they get their treat, right? Okay, your elephant is a lot the same. A lot of times, if it doesn't see it, it just is like, whatever. I'm good. Okay, so this leads us to a tip. Okay, don't go looking for things to want. Every time I get to Christmas, I've reached a point in my life. Every time it's my birthday, it's Christmas, people ask me, what do you want? What do you want for Christmas? What do you want for your birthday? I rarely know what to tell them. I have everything I basically need. I'm comfortable. So I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm fine. I don't need anything. And they insist, right? They're nice. They want to get me a present. They want to show me that they care. It's very thoughtful. I appreciate it. But I can't think of anything that I want. So I go hit Amazon, start browsing. And wouldn't you know it, every time I find something that I just can't live without, something that I want. See, if you're going and you're looking for something to want, you'll find something to want, I promise. So if you're out wandering the mall or browsing Amazon, checking out all the cool commercials, you're gonna find things to be tempted to buy. But just keep this in mind. If I was perfectly happy without this thing, then surely even though now I know it exists, surely I can be happy without it too. Right? So don't go looking for things to want. Try to avoid getting your elephant excited about something. Oh my gosh, look at that cool shirt. I want that shirt. I want to buy it. Okay, once your elephant gets excited, it's kind of like your dog with its treat. Gets really excited. It wants the thing. It wants the thing. And it won't leave you alone until it gets it. Right? And then when you reach that point, you have to fight down the temptation or give in to the temptation. Okay? Better to just avoid the temptation in the first place, if you can. Again, that's not always going to be possible. You'll be watching the Super Bowl and a commercial will come on and be like, whoa, I want that. Okay? You can't do it all the time. But there's, to the extent that you can, it can be really helpful. Now, the other way to avoid brain fatigue is to don't make decisions or shop when you're feeling emotional. So this is going to be anger, hunger, sadness. Emotions come from the elephant. The elephant is where you feel and process your emotions. So when you're emotionally charged, when you're angry, you do things that hurt your own interests, right? Have you ever been angry and said something hurtful to someone you love? I'm sure you have. Everyone has. And then later when you calm down, you're like, that was stupid. I didn't want to hurt their feelings. I love this person. I didn't want to hurt them, and I certainly don't want to push them away. They're my spouse. They're my best friend. They're my mom. I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to push them away. But in that moment, when you're angry, the elephant's running wild. The rider has lost control. And the elephant just lashes out in anger. That's what it does. You ever heard the advice, don't shop while hungry? Same story. When you're hungry, your elephant's in charge. And suddenly your elephant's like, oh, Cheetos, ice cream, ding dongs, ho hos, like all the stuff you shouldn't be buying that's terrible for you. Suddenly is a lot more tempting when you're hungry. That's because your elephant's in charge. Okay? So making decisions when you're really emotional leads you to make bad decisions that compromise your long-term goals and objectives. Okay, let's talk about tip number 2, commitment devices. A commitment device is where you simply put something in place, a system in place, where when you reach the point of temptation, you can't give in to temptation. You've literally blocked your ability to cave into temptation. My favorite example comes from Homer's Odyssey. In the Odyssey, Odysseus wants to hear the song of the sirens. Okay, the sirens are mythical creatures whose song is so beautiful it causes people to throw themselves off of their ships when they sail by, and they drown trying to get to the source of that song, trying to find it because it's so beautiful. Odysseus wants to hear that song, but he doesn't want to die. So what does he do? He has the crew tie him to the mast of the ship before they reach the sirens. So the crew ties him to the mast, they plug their own ears so they can keep sailing without dying, and then they sail past the sirens. Odysseus hears the siren song, tries to throw himself off his ship like everyone else who's ever heard the siren song has done. But he can't because he's tied up to the mast of the ship. Okay? Tying himself to the mast of the ship is a commitment device. When he reached the point of temptation, he was unable to kill himself, unable to commit the mistake that he didn't want to make in the moment of temptation. That's a perfect example of a commitment device. So what are some other commitment devices we could use? Okay, you could cut up your credit cards to avoid a shopping binge. And this only really helps in face-to-face shopping, right? Your credit card online, it maybe doesn't work so well, but if you like to go to the mall and shop till you drop, if that's something that you like to do, but you're wanting to cut down how much you do that, maybe this could help, right? Because then you don't have the card. You can't easily just run out and use it. It's going to take effort. You got to look up the number, right? So you're putting a barrier between yourself and temptation. All right, let's say you want to stop drinking alcohol or cut back. Well, a great way to do that is just not keep it in the house. Or same thing with junk food, right? If you're craving ice cream, it's a lot harder to eat ice cream if there's none in the house. Right, so I do this. Like a lot of times, it'll be evening. I'll be like, a little ice cream. That sounds pretty good. Oh, we don't have any. So if I want ice cream, I got to go out and buy ice cream or go get a shake. Or right, I have to put on my shoes and get in the car and drive out somewhere. And you know what? Most of the time, I just say, yeah, I do want ice cream, but you know what? It's just not worth it. And then I don't eat ice cream. And so I have not caved to my temptation to eat ice cream. I've blocked myself. Okay, commitment device. Okay, buying small packages of junk food rather than bulk. I have a problem with this. I don't buy the big bags of Cheetos anymore because I know from experience, if I buy that big bag of Cheetos, I'm going to eat the whole thing in one sitting and I'm going to hate myself and feel sick. Like I don't know. I just turn it on. I'm watching TV and I'm eating and next thing I know, I didn't pay attention, right? The elephant was like, ooh, took over. And next thing I know, I'm in trouble, right? So I buy little things of Cheetos. I'm like, okay, if I want Cheetos, I'm just going to eat this one little bag. Again, a commitment device. I've stopped myself from being able to cave to temptation. My personal favorite, and probably the most relevant to your money, though, is this one. Save using automatic deposit. So you can go to your employer or to your bank and say, look, every time I get paid, I want X number of dollars. Instead of going to my main checking account, I want that to be rediverted to where I'm going to save. Okay, so let's say you want to save up an emergency fund. It should not be in the checking account where you normally pay for things. It needs to be somewhere where you don't see it regularly, a whole different bank. Okay, so that's what I do. Every time I get a paycheck, certain number of dollars automatically get transferred to my emergency fund to top it up. And a certain number of dollars automatically gets put in my 401k. And so whenever I log into my bank and I'm checking my savings account, my checking account, the number of dollars I see there already reflects my savings. It's gone, right? So when I don't see those dollars, if I look at my checking account, I'm like, oh, I have $2,000 in here. I can spend some money because I have $2,000. But if I go in there and I look and I have $800 because $1,200 has gone to my 401k and my emergency fund, I'm going to be like, ooh, all right, I got to make it work on only $800. Right? The money I don't see, I'm much less tempted to spend it. Okay, and the added bonus is I don't have to go in and every month I don't have to convince myself, okay, Elephant, look, we need to stock up the emergency fund. We need to do it. So we're going to transfer some money. You ready to do it? And my elephant's like, yeah, but all these things we want it, right? I don't have to fight that battle every single time I want to save some money. It happens automatically. I'm the weakest link in this chain. I'm the place where it breaks down, right? My choice to save is where it fails. So I cut myself out of the loop and just have it automatically transfer. It's incredibly powerful and incredibly freeing. Okay, fantastic tip. My number one top favorite tip for budgeting is this one: save using automatic deposit. Okay, let's talk about number 3 then, getting your elephant on board with what your plan is. This little clock you see on the screen is called the clocky. So what it does is you set your alarm the night before, right? The night before, the writer's in charge. The writer's like, hey, I want to get up early and work on my homework so I don't have to scramble. I won't be stressed. Okay, sounds good. Set the alarm early so I can get up. And then in the morning, alarm goes off and you slap the alarm clock off. Who's in charge in the morning? It's the elephant. The writer's still asleep. Writer's still waking up, but the elephant's in charge. The elephant doesn't want to get up early, and it definitely doesn't want to study. So it says, you know what? I'll take care of it later. And then you don't get up and do what you wanted to do. The clocky helps you with that. It allows you to snooze once. After you've hit snooze once, if you hit snooze a second time, those wheels on the side of it start turning. And it starts driving around your room like a maniac, shrieking its alarm. Okay, and at that point, guess what? The elephant doesn't like that. So now the elephant and the writer want the same thing. They both want to get out of bed and shut this clock up. So how hard is it to leap out of bed when your alarm clock is across the room and it's screaming at you? It's not that hard, actually, is it, right? It's pretty easy to get up. Now, you might get sucked back down, so don't lay back down. That puts the elephant back in charge. Keep moving, right? But what this has done is it's gotten the elephant to want the same things that the writer does. And when the writer and the elephant agree, that's tremendously powerful. So how can you do this with your money? Well, give yourself a visual cue that gives you a sense of accomplishment. There's a reason why fundraisers use these little thermometer scales. Okay, seeing that you're getting closer, that you're making progress is really important. Your elephant is the part of your brain that processes your vision, your sight, color. It does all of that. And so when you see yourself making progress, that gets the elephant excited. Like, oh my gosh, we're almost there. We're doing it. We're succeeding. Okay, the elephant gets excited about that. Okay, so it can help you get excited to reach long-term financial goals. Maybe give your elephant a reward, right? All right, when I reach $10,000 in my emergency fund, then I'm going to go get ice cream. And every $1,000, I'm going to go get another ice cream to reward myself for making progress. Okay? Get your elephant excited. You may have heard the advice to put a picture of your goal on your bathroom mirror where you can see it every day. That actually is really good advice. That gets the elephant excited because remember, the elephant is really interested in things it can see. If it can't see it, it feels a little too vague for the elephant to get excited about. So put a picture of it up where you see it every day. And you're like, okay, I'm not gonna eat out today because I want to buy the cruise, right? I'm giving up eating out, giving up Chick-fil-A for a month or 2 months so I can go on the cruise. Remember the cruise, right? You're keeping yourself focused on something the elephant does want, something you're excited about, and you're reminding yourself, why am I making this sacrifice? Why am I giving up XYZ thing? It's so I can reach this bigger goal that I want more. And so putting up those goals, pictures, being able to see your goals helps you remain excited and motivated to reach those goals. And so when you're starting to feel weak, starting to feel tempted, you're like, I'm going to cave, I'm going to break my financial goals, you can see that goal and get excited about it again. So that's just a few tips to get you excited, motivated, and stay on track to reach your financial goals.